Sorry, I like to record myself when I talk. Oh, okay. So, hi everyone. Thank you for your patience and for showing up to this final presentation. So, during the whole progress of this term and leading up to this final project, I was able to do a collaboration, imaginary collaboration with a shoe brand called On Cloud. And so learning from the brand, it talks about, having an active lifestyle, and it has a representation of being very clean, sophisticated. So learning from how their shoes are designed and how they're engineered to the inch of the brim of the shoe, I wanted to implement that to the concept of maybe if they did a desktop accessories, this is how it would look. So I'm starting off with the Cloud On project because I feel like that's the highlight of this term, to be able to sketch, generate, and to actually render and even print it out. So the learning curves around this was mostly and majorly about how I would construct it. So I had 5 products that I would imagine if we ever did this in real life. So we have like an overhead or an over table compartment, which you don't need to lock it. You just need to slide it into the table and it locks it by itself. And you have a somewhat of a like curve. It follows the flow of how when you run, it's like that flow of wind kind of follows the shape of the bowl. So this would be like the pencil compartment. And so the next major thing that was really fun to do, and it was challenging at first, was to do a tape holder that was also inspired by how the silhouette of the shoes are. So it was supposed to be a tape holder slash a fidgeting tool. So it's like when you sit down in your desk for too long, you kind of develop this like carpal syndrome. So the shape was supposed to help you bring that shape back. So that's why like between the two different sides of the shapes, like you have this curve that helps you set your wrist back. And I realized that was interesting on building this, and I learned a lot on how to assemble it together, because originally this was printed in 2-piece, but let's say if you're not using it to fidget around, you can always use it to put tape or put other things on it. And going into the other 2 items, or the 2 projections that I had for this project. So this one would be the somewhat of a bigger iPad stand, but it could also be like a compartment where you can put your stuff in. Because of like learning the brand is pretty easy to wear and it slips on easily, I wanted to have that feel to the product. So the last one is just a re-implementation of how the brand could look as a product. So thinking about maybe the shape of the logo could be another stand, so that's what I did. And wrapping up the last project that we did, I learned a lot about how the thinness and how curves really played a huge role when we're doing like in-life printing. I guess making it look good on the software is another thing, but to print it out and make it look in real life, that's also a challenge that happened. So going back again to the 3D model, the slicer project, I did a flower face inspired by a tree branch, because I know I was crunching on time, but I wanted to make it work where it was aesthetically and systematically working. Right. So after discussing with Javier and taking a lot of crits on how it should look, we end up discovering a shape that would work as a tree branch. It was simple, which I was doubting at first, but after printing it and actually working with the material, it helped a lot. So with the stacking process, because I was using 1/8 mezzanite, it had its challenges where you have to get it precisely together or it's offsetting a little bit. But during the process, I do realize that the wabi-sabi part of assembling it helps it to create that organic feel. So learning from mistakes is like, it's never a mistake. It could either be an opportunity to redesign it. So I realized like offsetting a little bit could really help, especially since we have the tools to play with materials. I talked a lot with all the instructors to see which methods would go along with the concept to make it look organic. And the reason why it has 3 branches, because sometimes when you get a plant, it doesn't really have the same height with each other. So having it different height and different width, especially after it's being assembled, really helps out to, you know, it's like imagining if you cut up a tree branch and you're making holes out of it and then putting another plant in it.
Right.
Yeah. And overall, during this term, I learned a lot about utilizing our laser labs, learning how to 3D print. So most of the products you see right now, this is all FDM printed. And I learned to network a lot with people who have 3D printing. And they also, yeah.
Last minute.
Yeah, and it was really educating because I did print with one of the instructors here at the laser lab, and they taught me a lot about how to save an STL the way you said it, and they also updated me with like how the settings are with their printers. So it was good to know like we could set it a little bit higher to get a finer print, and there was a lot of mishaps during this term where I was trying to catch up, but I'm glad that I got to understand the software fundamentally, and then I can't wait to like build it up after the class is over or for my future class for Pack 2. So overall, that's the progress for this term.
Job, Michelle. Looks good.
Yeah, and the renders are, yeah.
We have nothing last week to have the actual objects that work, so that's a big plus. I'm glad that you made a mistake with the posters.
Yeah.
'Cause it looks nice when it's bigger, definitely.
Yeah, I saw
I
our
might change that next term.
Oh.
Everybody 24 by 36 at least.
Yeah.
No, it looks, it comes to life and you can really see the textures and the details.
Yeah. I did remember checking our notes. It was like we have to bring a poster, and I forgot what size it was, so I'm assuming it's the proper poster.
That's okay.
Yeah. But even learning how to use KeyShot was interesting because I learned like a few tricks to maybe use more lightings, and it could help like create this ground plane. And fun fact, I didn't use any ground planes here.
Yeah.
So it's just like,
seamless,
But it was also interesting while I was doing this, I got a lot of crits from product design that was sitting next to me, and they were like teaching like how I can use certain materials, like you can mix and match certain stuff. Yeah. But overall, it's challenging, but it's been really fun to know all these things.
Comment, feedback for Michelle?
It's pretty smart that you sanded the tree branch. It looks a lot like
Lifelike, yeah.
You also have nice grooves on the very organic model.
Yeah, we so this one for this one.
So we mirror it, and we got then the organic one on the side. We revolve it twice and get out the shape that you wanted.
That's true. If I had to redo this, I would probably fix like the lines on this, because on learning from the brand on Cloud, they're very like repetitive when they have a certain style or a graphic element that they have. So like having that, but they do it in a uniform way, which I feel like I'm still missing a little bit. But if I had to redo it, I would probably fix that.
Great, well done.
Okay, thank you.
CD.